these guys are there. Should we stay and pick, or should we trade down? Should we trade up to go get one? So really challenged ourselves to do that before we fell on the clock. That way we'd be able to make a decision pretty quickly.
All right, here we go. It is time for the Pick 6 at 6. We take the most interesting things that Adam Peters and Lance Newmark said today at their press conference. And it starts, of course, with...
Number 1.
Yeah, that's how it works. Number 1. And we are about 50 hours at this point from the NFL draft. So much work has been done. For Adam Peters, what do the next 50 or so hours look like getting ready for Thursday night's first round?
That's a great question. It's probably different for every team, and sometimes it's different every year. I think the next 48 hours, we're just really refining our board and just making sure we're challenging ourselves on different scenarios, different things that may come up. Really, you got two players right next to each other. Who would you take and why? And talking to the coaches and how would this player fit? Does he fit your vision? And so just the board's pretty much set. It's just like a little bit of tinkering here and there, and then you make some phone calls too. You make some phone calls like, okay, you want to come up? Do you want to come down? And just get an idea of what's going to be available for you. So you're not making all those decisions in real time in those 10 minutes that you have. So it's a fun couple of days. It's cool to have all the scouts here and really exciting.
And that's the thing that I appreciate about teams that do this right. You are prepared for the draft. You do all the scouting work, but then are you prepared for actual draft night? You still don't have folders of information and guys arguing over players by the time you get to the actual time that you're on the clock, or the time that someone else is on the clock that you want to get there. Adam Peters joked about, we're prepared for everything. If Abdul Carter's there at 27, we might trade up. So the ability to be prepared, be ready, have had the arguments, know where your trade calls are, be ready to know who your point of contact is. Hey, we got a guy in our front office that knows a guy in that front office, so that's going to be the guy who makes the call, or I know the GM, or Lance knows the GM, or I know the assistant. Like, you know how you're going to attack what you want, and preparing for the draft versus trying to do any kind of final scouting evals. Like, you're probably not going to find some new player like, this guy, I haven't seen him on anyone else's board. Like, you're not doing that. You're preparing to make the most out of this weekend. And last year presented a pretty unique opportunity that Adam Peters was asked about, and would he do it again?
Number 2.
What happens if the Eagles call again? Last year, a lot of folks, I think fans got upset that they traded within the division, and obviously, look, the dude that Philly got in that deal is currently the best player in that trade. Cooper DeJean, which makes sense, by the way, because they traded up for him, but a guy that came on, changed their defense in the second half of the year, and helped them win the Super Bowl in a very literal and direct sense. So what happens if the Eagles call again, and this was the one team standing between you and the Super Bowl last year, and they're calling you because they think they can make their team better?
Yeah, that's another really good question. You think about that, but I think it's like a lot of things, case by case. And what is the trade? Is it the best move for your team? And you can't do. I don't personally believe in being scared about trading with a team within your division. If you think the trade's a good value for you and you can get some good picks to help your team get better, then definitely consider it. Some cases it won't be. And so some cases you think, all right, maybe we don't want to do that for whatever reason, but I don't think that we'll ever shy away from that, taking those calls. And a lot of times you'll have a lot of picks on, or a lot of trades kind of lined up. And in that particular instance, the Eagles trade was by far the best trade in terms of value that we got. So we made that trade.
And he would do it again, I'm sure, in a heartbeat, because, Ben Sinnott's got to play better in year 2 than he did in year 1 for that to look like a good trade 5 years from now. But they got Sainer still. They got more out of that trade as well. And, you're going to give up a player. It is what it is. But you got to make ultimately, what you're looking at is your own team and the ability to say, did we get as good as we possibly can in this draft? And if the answer involves trading back with the division rival, and you think the upgrade to your team is better than the upgrade they might make to their team, then you pull that trigger. Or if there's not another chance to make your team as good as possible. Because what happens if Cooper DeJean's a good player. Like, he's going to be really great with them. That sucks that we know that that's who they want. What happens if Scuba DeJean gets hurt? Oh, you passed up an opportunity to get better on your side of things. So you have to kind of act in your own interests and not totally ignore the other side of the trade, but that's why you ultimately trust your board and trust your rankings as a general manager. Speaking of your board, last thing before we take a quick break, come back with the back half of the Pick Six.
Number 3.
How does Adam Peters put together his big board, if you will?
There's guys that we know that aren't going to be there, so it wouldn't be. If they were there, yeah, we'd take them, but we're fairly certain they're not going to be there. But there is a group of, I don't know. This draft is interesting just because very little certainty after the first 10 picks or so of who's going to go where and why and what's going to happen and all that. So we have to be ready for a lot of different guys to fall to us or to not fall to us, and so. We have done that where we've done an exercise where we just ranked, this group of guys, however many it is. It could be 10, it could be 5, it could be 20 of, okay, will they be there? All right. And if these guys are there, should we stay and pick, or should we trade down? Should we trade up to go get one? So really challenged ourselves to do that before we fell on the clock. That way we'd be able to make a decision pretty quickly.
And again, these are decisions that are not just being made for 2025. It might seem a position like running back, and I know some people hate B-Rob or don't think B-Rob's any good, and so pretend he's good for a second if you're one of those people. But they've got 3 if they go into the running back room this year with the guys they've got NFL running backs. They've got even quality NFL running backs. But they have none of them signed for the future. And so a position like running back or a position like defensive tackle, they're okay at defensive tackle right now, for sure. But you have to look beyond just this year and know that Daron Payne is probably in his final year in Washington. These are the types of decisions that you're looking at when you rank those positions, you rank those players, you take them out of the horizontal tiers of this guy's got a second-round grade, this guy's got this, and you actually say, all right, if these 2 players are the 2 left for us on the board, who we taking? You want to have those discussions ahead of time. That way you don't get pulled in a direction on a whim in the heat of the moment, and you've done your concerned or concentrated, thoughtful work ahead of time.
Number 4.
Adam Peters has made his career in Washington so far picking guys that are very high character. It is a feature of what he wants to do. The Commanders tag gained lore last year with guys like Jaden Daniels, Johnny Newton, Mike Sainristil, guys that play a certain way, bring a certain attitude, bring a certain leadership, maturity, all of it. But we also know that there's a ton of talented guys that may have not had the best circumstances or may not even just be the best dudes. And sometimes if you can get them in the right environment, you do that, and you hope that your culture can bring the best out of them. So for Adam Peters going into year 2, how does he evaluate guys that have questions like that? Guys that would be considered or have some kind of flag for a character concern?
Yeah, that's a great question. Excuse me. And it really starts with the scouts, and that's where all the hours that they put in and all the information, all the people they talk to at the schools and the players' hometown and everywhere else, they dig up anything they can to find out what makes each of these guys tick. And so you say a character concern, and we drafted a guy in San Francisco who had character concerns, and he turned out to be one of the best players at his position, one of the best teammates I've ever seen, one of the best locker room guys, and just an outstanding human being. So you got to be careful where you get that information and who's giving you that information, and know your sources and all of that. But each character concern is really case by case, and you really figure out what the incident, if it's an incident, what it was, why that happened, find out all the information from them, from everybody you can, in order to make the best decision for your team. So, and there's a wide spectrum of character concerns. From you have off the field things, you have football character. There's not really character, but then mental and learning that you look into. So all those different things play into it, but everything's case by case, and try to get as much information as you can.
I think that's the correct answer, and you just have to have people that you trust throughout college football, throughout the agent world, and it's why when we talk about being, a good general manager and having those relationships and not trying to quote unquote win every deal, you're not trying to, I could have gotten a couple more dollars here or a couple more whatever there. You just be good to people, and eventually it'll come back around. And the relationships that you build over the course of years and the trust that you build over the course of years for a guy like Adam, who took the scouting path, is someone who was on the road for years and years and years. Those things are invaluable. The relationships that your scouts have with not just the coaches, the position coaches, the coordinators, the head coaches at the college level, but the janitors, the lunch ladies. You go to a school a bunch of times, place like in Alabama, like, if you're a good scout, like, you know the lunch ladies. You're going in there, you're having lunch multiple times, you're going to meet with players. So pull Janice aside for a chat. Janice knows who sucks and who doesn't. I want to know. But then you also need to have people on your staff that can do kind of real reporting, whether you call it intelligence gathering or like journalism type report, however you want to characterize it. But you ultimately need someone who can look at a prospect. I just use him as an example, like Mike Green. There's 2 sexual assault allegations. We got to figure out as much as we possibly can, and then we got to present that information to our general manager and our owner, and let those 2 people and your head coach and let them make a decision at that level. So these are the things that have to happen on the character side. And when it's just a football character thing, do you look at a kid like James Pierce and think Tennessee's kind of a mess? If we can get him out of University of Tennessee, we think he's going to be fine? Or do you be like, he's part of the reason why University of Tennessee is a mess? Like, these are the questions that you have to ask, and you have to have the sources and the resources to be able to answer those questions.
Number 5.
To me, you never want to purely look at one scheme and be like, this is who we're going to be forever. But I think there's certainly a plan to have some continuity. Certainly on the defensive side, Joe Witt Jr. might get head coach looks next year. You know Cliff Kingsbury is if they have another good season in Washington. So knowing that, and also trying to balance the 2 sides of the ball, I thought that was an interesting way that this question was presented to Adam Peters by our pal Sam Fortier. How much do the coordinators influence who gets drafted ultimately Thursday night and through the weekend for Washington?
But the coaches are really involved. The coordinators are really involved in the draft process. And so when we're going through our draft meetings, every position we go through in offense, Cliff is in there meeting with us, which is, it's a long time for a coordinator to be in a meeting room. And then for the defense, Joe's in there. So they both give their opinions on really every player that we talk about. And so they put a ton of work in, and they do a great job of teaching us their vision for the player. If there's a player they really like, or the player that maybe they think is a good player, but maybe we don't have a vision for them, or they aren't the best fit for us. So really constant dialogue between those, during those meetings, and then really from those meetings when they finished up last week until Thursday night and through the weekend, just understanding, okay, what do you think here between these 2 guys? And we'll come to a decision all together, but their input is really important for us.
And it's why continuity can be so important over the course of years. If you have success and you lose coaches and you can keep the same system, then the players that you've drafted for that system continue to help you win football games. I will never forget, as long as I'm doing this, the conversation that the Rams released around Sean McVay and Puka Nacua. Les Snead was like, who do you like here in the 5th round? And what about the Nacua kid? And Sean's like, I know exactly what to do with that guy. And so if you have a vision for a player, it's pretty important, or that player is probably going to be more successful. And thus, it's pretty important that the coordinator, the person who is structurally responsible for the offense or the defense, has a vision for that player. If the coordinator doesn't sign off, you probably shouldn't draft him. By the same token, by the way, that's how you get much of the mess of the Bruce Allen era. Bruce and his team and other people did whatever they wanted and didn't really care what the coaches thought. But you got to have a vision for a player. And even though the coordinators might change out over time, that's the nature of the NFL. Either they're not good and they get fired, or they're good and they get new jobs as head coaches. You do have to make sure that you have a vision and a usage for any player that you draft, especially early, which does leave a question. If you've got, say, 2 really good wide receivers, 2 vets who you know who they are, what kind of wide receiver, and does a wide receiver fit in? Would the Commanders take a receiver at 29, even though they've already spent on Terry McLaurin and will spend more this offseason with an extension, and obviously spend a 5th-round pick to get Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, I think really every team every year is a little bit different, right? And so It were really just what's the best player that's going to help us now and in the future, and because that room's going to change next year, just like every other room in our building is going to change each year. It's going to evolve. So, if the best player we think is the player that's going to help us more than any other position, then we won't hesitate to take that.
And I think the detangling of that is, we're not going to just take wide receiver might not be the top of their priority list. But if the wide receiver left on the board is way better than other positions that we might need more, we'll take the receiver because that player is going to help us the most. And that's how you have to look at it. It is always a combination of who's the best available and who helps our team the most. And the positions of need is always going to come into the helping our team the most side of it. And so we'll see what that ultimately means by the time the board shakes out at 29 on Thursday night. That is our pick 6 at 6. Haven't done that in a while. Good to know it's still a club we can hit straight. Landed that sucker right in the middle of the fairway. And there might be more of that coming later in the week, because obviously Peters will talk after the first round on Thursday night. So we'll make sure that we're all caught up on Friday.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.